Ladies and sinners, welcome to another Tuesday evening edition of the Sin City Sports Show, presented by eSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Hey, it's Victory Tuesday, folks. Sin City Sports Show, Victory Tuesday. The Raiders taking care of two straight division opponents for that matter, in very impressive fashions. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. You guys can get at us on our Twitter forums at Cale_Henderson, at SinCity_IESR, where we talk all things Vegas sports. We're going to touch base on the Golden Knights tonight. We're going to touch base on what's happening in Vegas, because guess what? Major League Baseball has moved a bit closer. It has. I mean, the vote was good. I mean, it's been voted in, right? Like, it's approved. The issue's been the owner. Sounds like some good things happen. We'll touch base on that a little bit on today's show, but this show is going to be primarily about the Raiders, their future, like at least half the show, because we have to talk about it. Right now, it's just we've been on the fence, right? Let's be real. Let's be 100% real about this. Antonio Pierce is a young coach. He's a Super Bowl winner. He's heralded as having a high football IQ. And I would agree with that. From what we've seen from the Raiders so far, I would agree with that. And we'll bash into that more here when we get back here on the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. Welcome to another Tuesday evening edition, Victory Tuesday of that matter. Two straight Victory Tuesdays here on IE Sports Radio, IE Vegas. This is the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. We're back at it again, where we talk all things Vegas sports. IE Vegas, folks, it's where it's at. Don't fret if you're missing shows. Don't fret if you miss the live. Guess what? You can go to the Spreaker app. You can go to Spotify, Apple Pods, Google Pods. I mean, we are everywhere, man. YouTube. Go to our website, iesportsradio.com. We have blogs for everybody, every show, and we put out great content. This is a shameless plug. Vegas sports is the fastest growing sports market in America. We are lucky that Larry B picked us to cover Vegas. Very lucky. But extremely happy with what we saw yesterday. I'm happy with what we're seeing in Vegas in general. I think Vegas is turning into a very, very popular place for folks. On top of that, when we're talking about Vegas, guess what? It's almost like a home game tonight. But UNLV has kicked off it's 9:21 left in the second quarter. But UNLV is playing the Kansas Jayhawks in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl in Las Vegas. UNLV is only trailing by 7. I'm not going to lie to you guys, man. I expect Kansas to win this game because I think Lance Leipold, just like Kyle Whittingham of Utah, I think Lance Leipold does the most with less, with the least, especially Lance Leipold compared to, listen, Utah and Kansas aren't far off from each other, right? I think Utah's a better program right now, but Lance Leipold's got something brewing in Kansas, man. The Jayhawks are no joke. I love their style of the air raid. They do a lot of pre-snap motions, a lot of pre-snap shifts, which is very confusing for a defense. Then this is nothing against UNLV. I think UNLV's a good team. I think Barry Odom's done an excellent job in his first season, going 9-4, playing a Big 12 team for that matter in a bowl game when Marcus Arroyo and company, previous staff, had issues. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hats off, man. But we're going to give you guys updates, live updates as the show's going on. UNLV right now is trailing 14-7. They're about to punt the ball away to Kansas. Not a good sign because Kansas, man, when they get rolling, they get rolling. But again, we've talked about this for a couple weeks. I've been predicting, even though I'm covering UNLV, I've been predicting Kansas to win. Kansas is just a really good football program right now, and they're not talked about enough. Lance Leipold's doing work. They're getting renovations at their stadium. They're getting a whole brand new, I think, like what was it, like a $300 million football facility built there. I mean, it's going to be incredible what Kansas does. They're not just a basketball school now. With Lance Leipold there, they're going to be a football school too. UNLV's got a tough test tonight, man. But I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see what Brumfield does. I think this defense has been nails all season long. Done an excellent job. It's been a lot of fun to watch this UNLV team grow this year, and I'm excited to see what happens. When you look at their recruiting list, by the way, nothing but 3-stars, which is great for a Group 5 team. And there are a lot of 3-stars because everybody obsesses about the 5 and 4-star guys, right? There are a lot of 3-stars out there that are very talented that just need development. Maybe they haven't grown into their body yet. Maybe they haven't really been taught how to play the game of football at a fundamental level. Maybe lifting and strength training and speed and conditioning hasn't been quite up to snuff for that player, but they still have a ton of limitless potential. Like all the time, I see it all the time. You see kids that are like 6'6" in high school at 265, and you're like, what is going on here? Go to their practice. They're just not being taught football. They're not being taught the fundamentals of their position. They don't have a position that's like suiting their strengths. They're kind of just thrown there because they're huge and strong. But there's so much potential there. When you're 6'6" and you are 260 in high school, you have room to grow, man. Maybe not inches in height, but you have room to grow. Your body has room to fill out with muscle. And here's the other thing. What I try to tell our players at Standing Bear is lifting isn't so that you can be the best football player ever. That's not what lifting's for. You're going to be the best football player by knowing what you're supposed to do, knowing your assignments, perfecting their fundamentals. Bill Belichick had a great saying. He said, we will do things until we can't do them wrong. Not until we do them right, until we can't do them wrong. Does that make sense? Meaning you have been so successful so many times, it's been your bread and butter that you cannot make the mistake doing that fundamental. That is what that's what's going to teach football players how to be good football players. The weight room is about putting armor on. That's what I call it. You're trying to build calluses for a 4-quarter physical football game. That's what I think UNLV is doing a very good job of. They're finding guys with a ton of potential, and I think Barry Odom's going to do a good job of getting these guys developed. He's going to do a good job of finding ways to get these guys beefier and ready to go. This UNLV team's been exciting to watch so far, and we'll see what happens. But I think Odom done an excellent job. They're just running up against a really good team out of the Big 12. So we'll keep you guys updated as things go on. We got Larry B and Taryn Rodriguez, of course, the best teammates there on IE Sports Radio. It's Drewski. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll go ahead and go into it, man, because they're already shouting it off, right? Raiders! Victory Tuesday. Victory Tuesday, Raider Nation. 2 straight weeks, 2 straight division opponents. You know, the Chargers game was just an absolute mollywhopping. It was an ass whooping. Didn't expect it with all the talent that the Chargers do have. Here's something. Listen, we've talked about it for weeks, and this is why I think it's so important that we focus on the Raiders in today's show. You can see something happening, kind of like the Rich Bisaccia situation. You guys remember that a few years ago? Everyone counted the Raiders out because of all the crap that they went through. Henry Ruggs, the John Gruden mess. What was his name? I can't even remember it because he was so bad. But he was a corner drafted out of Ohio State that should have been drafted in the first round. Like, there was just so many bad things that happened in that one particular season that the fact that Rich Bisaccia led the team to 10-6 was incredible. They went on a run, and it made sense. Right now, the Raiders are on the precipice. They win the next 2 weeks. They're probably the wild card team, maybe the 7th seed. It would be a tough matchup, but I've said this for weeks. You guys have heard it here first. I am an Antonio Pierce fan. I love his style. I love what he does. I love what he brings to the table. He's got tons of energy. It's obvious he's got a high football IQ. The only game that I have questioned so far, like 100% question, was the Vikings game. You had a bye week and you didn't score a single point. But at the same time, the defense has been so good, they only allowed 3 points in that game. Um, so that's to me that's bad coaching. And the buck starts with AP. AP's got to go to Bo Hardigree and say, hey man, this is unacceptable. What did we do preparation wise? The following week, you know what he did? He brought in guys from around the NFL, some of the best at their positions that aren't currently employed, and said, hey, how would you game plan this? These are guys that he worked with the Giants and relationships throughout the years. He's a Tom Coughlin style player, meaning this guy is going to be a player's coach. He's going to love you up, but at the same time, if you're late to meetings, you're probably going to get fined. You're going to see discipline. These guys ain't going to mess around. He's going to be a player coach, but he's a disciplinarian. And I have great respect for Antonio Pierce. So here's how it lays out for me. As someone who covers this team on a consistent basis, this is how I feel about the situation. Antonio Pierce, as of now, should be the Raiders' head coach of the future. If the Raiders make the playoffs, it should be a lock. The only thing I would say that would hold that off is if Mark Davis takes a month, interviews a bunch of people, sees if there's a candidate out there. If Jim Harbaugh, and I stand by this, guys. I know we're not going to like it. We're not going to love hearing this. Everybody's starting to fall in love with Antonio Pierce. But Jim Harbaugh is a winner, no matter where he goes. So if Jim Harbaugh is 100% sure he wants to be the Raiders head coach, I think you make that happen. I really do. But with that said, if the Raiders make the playoffs, if Antonio Pierce can help bring this team to the playoffs, especially with the turnaround you've seen on defense, man. Like the Raiders have had a 2-decade worst in the NFL history type defense. And we've seen it change since week 9. Like it's legitimately a top 10 defense since week 9. They're getting turnovers galore, and they're also converting turnovers to touchdowns. It's crazy. Larry, you're 100% spot on. I think AP should lead this team, but he's not going to lead this team if Jim Harbaugh is 100% serious about it. Jim Harbaugh has a track record, man. He's coached in a Super Bowl, okay? He's coached in multiple NFC championships in one of the toughest conference or divisions, NFC West, with the Seahawks that we'd ever seen. All right? Jim Harbaugh is my guy. But if Jim Harbaugh isn't 100%, I think you have the coach of the future right here. I think you could get away with paying Antonio Pierce on a 3-year contract, almost like a prove-it deal. Like, hey, show me that this isn't a fluke. Let me get you an off-season to build your team, because this team is a good team. Here's reality, guys. Take it as you will for what you want. The Raiders should have beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead last year. They had a lead. They blew that lead because of poor defense. They also scored a unbelievable touchdown, Derek Carr did, to Devontae Adams, that should have potentially tied the game at 30-30. But McDumbass, being who he is, decided, oh, you know what, maybe I should go for 2. And his reasoning was statistically going for 2 is better. No, man, tie the game against one of the best teams in the NFL, the eventual Super Bowl champs last year. Bad coaching. McDumbass ruined that. Okay? The team is good. This football team is good. It was good last year. It was very competitive in a lot of games. Had a lot of games where they lost by a score or less. Aiden O'Connell, props to him, man. I think he's going to be an excellent backup for years to come. But he's not a starting guy in the NFL. He's just not. He's not moving the needle for me. He's not quite there yet. I mean, they've thrusted him into a position can't win, but he's going to be a tenured backup, man. Like, this guy could be a backup for 10 years. You know he can win games if you need him to. I think the future quarterback is either in the draft or a trade, and we'll see what Antonio Pierce and Champ Kelly want to do. But unless Jim Harbaugh is 100%, I fully expect Mark Davis to come out and say, you know, Antonio Pierce and Champ Kelly will be back next season as the guys. I do think that Mark Davis should tell him, hey, you know, if you want to keep Bo, fine, but he's on a short leash. They need to go out and hire somebody that can call plays if Bo can't. Just saying. It is what it is. Taryn, now just the Raiders beat the Chiefs doesn't mean they're bound for the playoffs yet. They still need to a bit go their way. Yep. but they should hire Antonio Pierce as the head coach, give him a chance. Don't let him walk like Rich Bisaccia. Yeah, these are entirely different situations, but I don't disagree with you, man. Like, yes, hire Antonio Pierce, but the reality is, if Jim Harbaugh is interested, you go for him because he's a better coach. He's got a track record of winning. Um, I think Jim Harbaugh is the best short-term answer with this current roster. Um, but Antonio Pierce could be the long-term answer with the style of play we're seeing from this Raiders team. I think Antonio Pierce could very well be, a long-term answer for that. A lot of excitement. UNLV just allowed another score. It's 21-7 Kansas. UNLV is really gonna have to turn this around to win this game. I don't know if it's going to happen, guys. I think Kansas is just a better team. They're a better team right now. First year under Barry Odom, the UNLV Rebels have done a great job. It's just not. I don't think it's going to be their night, man. Kansas is a really good team, and it's so tough to see a Group of Five team play a Power Five team. Like, why? Why does that happen? Especially one like Kansas. Like, they're not even on the same level playing field. They could have totally found another Group of Five team that qualified for the bowl season. They could have totally done that. I hate to say this, but I had the feeling Raiders would beat the Chargers. No Justin Herbert, no Keenan Allen, no Joey Bosa, and Corey Linsley. However, Brandon Staley lost the locker room after the Broncos loss on Antonio Gates Day. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think Staley lost the locker room a couple years ago when the Raiders beat them to get into the playoffs. If we're being honest, the dude went for it on fourth and inches on his own 30-yard line and gave the Raiders put the Raiders deep in their scoring position. I think they scored a touchdown off that. Brandon Staley, I think he's been on borrowed time for a couple years. I'm really surprised that they brought him back this last offseason. Very surprised. Very surprised. An interim head coach and a quarterback that everybody, for whatever reason, in Raider Nation hated, beat the Chargers to get into the playoffs. And they were within a score of beating the Cincinnati Bengals, who were the eventual AFC representatives for the Super Bowl that year. I'm just saying, man, I think Brandon Staley was trouble. He just wasn't. He wasn't the guy. Wasn't the guy. UNLV's got the ball. They just had a kickoff. They're trailing 21-7. Got the ball. I think it's about their own 34, so decent field position. We'll see what they do with that. Back to the Raiders, man. Mike Pat chimes in. Have a great show. How about it, Raider Nation? Yeah, great win. It's a great win. It's a feel-good win. I don't know if it's enough. I'm with Taryn. The Raiders have an opportunity for the playoffs, but they basically need to win out, and one of our divisional teams just needs to lose a couple games. So if you beat Denver, excellent. If you beat Denver, that's the trifecta, right? You're putting yourself in a great position to go into Week 18. If you win the next 3 weeks, you're good. It's that simple. Let's look at the Raiders' schedule, the remaining Raiders' schedule, right? So we know next week is the Colts. Not going to be easy, man. Not going to be easy. I think the Colts are a team that's fighting for a playoff spot right now, man. They're not playing horrible at all. Like, they're 8-7, same record as the Jaguars. I think the difference there is the divisional wins. The good news is we're playing the Colts. We're playing the Colts at Indianapolis, and the Colts are worse at home than what they are on the road this year. So there's a good positive there. The Raiders are going on a high, right? There's a possibility that it's another knockdown, drag-out team. I don't see anybody on the Colts that's just going to blow the Raiders out of the water, especially with the way the Raiders have been playing defense lately. All the Raiders have to do is score 20 points, and I think they win. Seriously, that's how good the Raiders' defense has played. And then they play the Broncos in Las Vegas, which could be for that final wild card spot. I mean, literally, if the Raiders beat the Colts, they're probably playing to win a wild card spot, which would be huge. And if the Raiders make the playoffs, Antonio Pierce to me is a lock. If they don't, I think it just gives Mark Davis more reason to look into Harbaugh. That's simple. Colts and Broncos, both winnable games for the Raiders, but could also trip the Raiders. Yeah, for sure. They're trap games. What is this team going to do? I think you have a good mix of young talent and veterans that can kind of step up to the plate and say, hey, this is how we need to prepare for this. We need to take this seriously. It's not going to be easy. Um, yeah, I think the Raiders are in a really good spot right now. Would it be in their best interest to probably lose out? Draft positioning, yes. It would probably be in their best interest. Would it be in Antonio Pierce's best interest? No. If Antonio Pierce wins out, I think he's the head coach. I do. Hey, what are we seeing here? I think UNLV just picked off the football. We'll see what happens here, but I think UNLV just picked off the football. They'll get the ball back. Kansas turning the ball over, man. Putting UNLV. Now, UNLV has a long field, but hey, they're putting UNLV in a good position here in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. 6:49 left in the second. Yep, UNLV's football. Great turnover. Again, Barry Odom's defense has been done a great job this year. Larry B says, congratulations on making the IESR Hall of Fame finals. Thank you, man. It's an honor to be nominated for anything like that. That's really cool. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know if I deserve it, respectfully. I'm not saying that to lose votes or anything. I just don't know if I put in that time quite yet. Patty would be my vote. She's been here a while, longer than I have. She's a diehard. And, she's involved with everything, or as much as she can be. Huge Buffalo fan. I love her passion. Patty would have my vote right now, respectfully. But I appreciate it, Larry. Thank you so much. What a bad pass to double coverage. Looked like Brock Purdy's. Dang, man. Taryn, you're going in, man. I don't know about all that. He had a rough game. That was a great game to watch, by the way. The Ravens are a hell of a football team. If they don't win home field advantage, I don't know, man. I'd be shocked if they don't. But that Miami game next week is crazy. It's going to be crazy good. Unbelievably good. Like, very good. We're going to go to a quick break. When we get back, we'll touch further on what I think the Raiders need to do this offseason, where I think they need to focus, because I think that's what I'm looking to. I don't know if the Raiders are going to beat both teams at the end of the season. If they do, great. It's not probable, right? It's not something that's high on the statistically. I don't know if that's going to happen. Again, the Colts are a good team. The Broncos are a good team. They're growing. The Broncos aren't the same team we played in Week 1 or whenever we played them. Sorry, the Broncos are not that same team. Not even close to being that same team. And that's just me being as respectful as I can. We played, the Broncos Week 1, beat them Week 1 for the 7th straight time. I just don't see it. Taryn Rodriguez says, you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Thank you for being a great teammate and to the best of your ability. Thank you, dude. Appreciate it, man. I'm a busy guy, but I still find time for this, and I try to tune into as many shows as I can. I appreciate it. IE Sports Radio is it's a lot of fun. And I'm hoping I can help Larry build it to something major, man. That'd be awesome. Because he puts a ton of work into it. So do you, Taryn. So, the station deserves it for sure. Station deserves it. We're going to go to a quick break. When we get back, we're going to hop into what I think the Raiders need to do in the future. We're going to touch base on the Golden Knights and what's happening in Vegas. And as usual, we're going to give you live updates on Vegas sports because UNLV is currently in the middle of their game as we speak. Here on Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, sports fans. It's me, your boy Larry B, and I want to walk you through the world of sports. No, not just the mainstream major TV deal type sports, although those are important too. But let me be your guide through your journey of all sports, from college to the pros, the minors, and everything in between. Each week, we are talking sports galore with true diehards just like you from a hardcore fan's perspective that's sure to quench your thirst around leagues you may know all too well and some you may even discover here. That's right, sports fans. If you love sports of all kinds, enjoy hearing amazing sports stories, and respect all sports because you know how difficult any of them can be to play or compete in, then this is your show. Join me, your boy Larry B, on the defining moment each week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, and let the sports come to you.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
Everybody, this is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the '08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies,
And your one-timers,
you wicked wristas.
and be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
Welcome back from the break. Entering the second half of the show here on the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Shout out to our teammates out there here on IE Sports Radio. I mean, you got Mike Pat, Let's Wine, does a great job. Taryn Rodriguez, he runs two shows, SoCal Supreme Sports Show, as well as Set Point, where he covers, Southern California. On top of that, Set Point with the volleyball coverage, men's and women's volleyball. Larry B is not only just the man, the myth, the legend when it comes to IE Sports Radio, but he runs the Defining Moment, Three and Out College Edition. Him and Taryn Rodriguez double team there, and then a shout out to Adam and Zach and their job with the Neutral Zone. Man, they do an excellent job on a consistent basis. We got a ton of really good, talented people that talk sports here. Davidson with the fast break, I think he does an excellent job as well. Anytime you guys get a chance, man, like I said, don't miss a show. You don't have to miss a show. Go to the Spreaker app, Google Pods, Apple Pods, Spotify, YouTube. Like, follow, share our Twitter pages. Helps the algorithms, helps us as creators, man. When we come out here, we're sitting here live. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody could do it. We have a good time. And I think IE Sports Radio puts on a good product. So, you guys get a chance. Remember, download the Spreaker app, Spotify, Google Pods, Apple Pods, because we are on all of those. YouTube, we all have our own pages, as well as go to iesportsradio.com. iesportsradio.com has a blog, not to mention a site or a portion of the site dedicated to all shows here on the network on IE Sports Radio. Go to our website, check it out. Check out merch. Check out the daily blog posts or the weekly blog posts. Fan of the month. iesportsradio.com is where it's at. Go check it out. Larry B does a hell of a job with that website. Definitely proud to bring that up here on the show. We're going to touch base one more time on the Raiders beating the Kansas City Chiefs 20-14. It was a slobber knocker. Listen, right now the Raiders are playing how you would expect the Raiders to play. Like, they're trying to bully people, they're trying to run the football, play great defense. If they could get a quarterback, nothing against Aiden O'Connell, he's just young. He needs to develop, and he's probably not a top-tier talent. All the Raiders need to do is find a quarterback and make sure that they're building the depth in the fronts, and I think this is a team that could be really dangerous moving forward. I mean, they've had the ability to beat good teams. They just have to be consistent. We'll see if Antonio Pierce can solve that. We'll see if it's Jim Harbaugh. We'll see who Mark Davis. I have a sneaky suspicion Mark Davis would love John Gruden come back. It wouldn't surprise me if he'd want to lean on Rich Bisaccia, but right now Antonio Pierce is making it very difficult. And I will go on a limb and say this: if the Raiders don't hire him full time, some team that has an opening is going to give him a shot. Straight up. I don't even think that's up for debate. I personally believe that if the Raiders don't give him the job, he's going to have an opportunity to be a head coach somewhere. Because there's going to be, 6 openings again? That's just the way it goes, man. We might see openings in places we haven't seen in a long time. One being the Chargers, the other one being, one being the Steelers, the other one being the Patriots. There's a possibility both of those have openings. That would be crazy. But that's just part of the NFL, man. It's a business. It's about what have you done for me lately. Mike Tomlin's a 2-time Super Bowl winner. Doesn't matter. You got to produce on a consistent basis. They haven't produced on a consistent basis in a decade, right? Bill Belichick, he hasn't won a title, since 2018, right? It is what it is. Doesn't mean they're bad by any means. I think the Patriots have a lot of talent on their team. Maybe Bill needs a refresh. There's going to be openings everywhere, man. So it's going to be interesting. If Antonio Pierce does not get an opportunity with the Raiders, he's going to get an opportunity somewhere else. I think the Raiders need to focus on the fronts. That should be, get your quarterback, get your guy. If you have to trade up, I think the Raiders have roughly 12 picks. They have 12 picks. The Raiders have 12 picks. Multiple fifth-round picks. They'll probably get some, compensatory picks, maybe fifth-rounders or sixth-rounders, something like that. I do, again, go up and get your guy if you can. If you have a guy in this draft that you think can really put the team on the next level, go get him. Don't shy away. If Jaden Daniels is that guy, go get him. Seriously, if he's that guy, go get him. If Drake May is your guy, go get him. I think Caleb Williams would be too steep because I believe Caleb Williams and Drake May are going to go 1 and 2. I have a hard time believing it won't happen. But Jaden Daniels could easily be somebody that we see slip into the first, he'll still be in the top half of the first round, but he could slip to the teens. And he'd be a good pickup, man. He's got a lot of experience. He's 6'4", 215 pounds. He's got a cannon for an arm, and he runs a system that's pretty pro-friendly there at LSU under Brian Kelly and his staff. It wouldn't be a terrible idea. I'm just saying. Jaden Daniels would be a good pick. Drake May would be the guy I think has the highest ceiling, like he has the most potential. We saw him scratch it at UNC, but he was kind of held back by horrible defensive play by that football team. So I would venture to say that Drake May is the most potential. Caleb Williams is the best prospect at quarterback, but Jaden Daniels is up there, man. He really is. Another one I wouldn't be afraid of if I were the Raiders. J.J. McCarthy is a gamer. If you could get him late in the first, early in the second, do it. Like if you think he could step in and play better than Aiden O'Connell, go after him. Don't wait. Just do it. Get it done. Don't be shy. We could be in the run for Michael Penix Jr. as well, but something tells me he might go higher than Jaden Daniels. Even with Jaden Daniels winning the Heisman, something tells me Michael Penix is going to be looked at by a lot of pro teams. But if Michael Penix was to fall to the 20s, yeah, Raiders should go up and get him, man. He's a talented guy. He's thin. They need to put some weight on him. They'd have to put some weight on him, but he's a talented guy. So I don't know. I wouldn't be afraid to go after him if you can get him. But my order is this. Okay? Caleb Williams at 1. Fully believe that. I think Caleb Williams is the number 1 quarterback in this draft. Do I think he has the most potential? No, I think that's Drake May. Drake May would be number 2. Okay? I put Jaden Daniels 3. Jaden Daniels has been consistent, even with Michael Penix, leading his team to an undefeated team. I think the Washington Huskies have a better football team around them than Jaden Daniels does. And Jaden Daniels did a good job. You've seen the stats, man. They speak for themselves. He's an excellent quarterback. So I put Jaden Daniels 3, Michael Penix 4, J.J. McCarthy 5. And I don't look back on any of those guys. I think any of those guys could be picked in the top first round. We could totally see that. I don't think it'll be like last year where we didn't see, we saw one or two quarterbacks and then, the rest of those guys that were touted to be number 1 guys or first round guys fell later. I don't think we see that this year. I think we see 4 or 5 guys go in the first round this year. And if they don't, quarterbacks 4 and 5 will be early second because teams will trade up and get that value. I promise you that. Or trade back in hopes to get that value. Regardless, it wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Michael Penix Jr. could be available in the early 20s. I think Jaden Daniels will be in the teens. Drake May and Caleb Williams are probably going 1 and 2. Then you have all those really talented guys like Marvin Harrison, Brock Bowers. You're going to see a lot of those guys. It'll be interesting to see who rises to the top when it comes to the offensive line pecking order. What's up, Davidson? I just actually gave you a shout out. Fast break. Thank you for tuning in. I enjoy your show, man. You're a list of people that I really enjoy listening to. Mike, Pat, Taryn, Larry, Adam, Zach. You guys all do a great job. It's Drewski. You guys do an excellent job. So I gave you guys all shout outs. Your shows. I told people to go to the Spotify app, man. Go to Spreaker. Download, like our shows, follow our shows. Don't miss any content because we put out good content. So shout outs to a bunch of teammates. Shout out to Patty. Patty runs our Buffalo show. Huge Buffalo fan. Right now she's in the lead for the Hall of Fame vote. She would have my vote. Even though I'm a finalist, she would have my vote. We'll see what happens. But good for Patty, man. Patty deserves it. So yeah, the Raiders' biggest focus needs to be quarterback, obviously. Because this team is good enough to win now. And if you don't count those stinkers against the Bears and the Vikings, if the Raiders pull those off, you're looking at a 6-loss team. You're looking at a team that's probably ahead of Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs right now for the top spot in the division. Just saying. It's those little things, man. We've seen it the last couple of years with the Raiders. We even saw it the year Rich Bisaccia led the team to that improbable playoff berth. Derek Carr went off the rest of the season, played great football. That whole team, like they lost some games they shouldn't have, like against the Giants or the Jets. Like those were teams that should have been beatable. It just didn't happen for whatever reason. Can't tell you why. This seems to happen on a regular basis for the Raiders. If the Raiders, the next focus should be who is going to be your coach? Who's going to be your line of coaches? Can you keep Davante Adams, or are you trading him off? If I'm the Raiders, I seriously consider trading him. Listen, Davante's Davante, and he's attracting a ton of attention on the defensive side of the ball. Right? He's attracting a ton of attention from defenses. But has he been truly involved with this rookie quarterback? And how happy is he going to be if you have another rookie quarterback next year? I don't think he'll be that happy. If you're the Raiders, try and get value for him. The Raiders got him for a first and a second. He's still extremely productive. Yes, he's on the back ladder of his career, but he's still very, very productive, and he's going to be a really good. Like, if a contender came and swooped him up for a first and a third or a first and a fourth, I think the Raiders should take it in a heartbeat. Add to the plethora of draft picks that you need anyway. Because maybe there's a scenario where you trade Davante Adams. Maybe you trade him to the top team. Maybe you trade him to the Bears to get the number one pick. Trade him to the Bears with the number one and a couple second round picks in the future. So the Bears would get Adams to go along with DJ Moore. Compliment Justin Fields. You have a team that's on the rise there. Eberflus probably won't be back, so that'd be great in that situation. I don't know. A lot of potential there, man. The Raiders could do a lot. And you have trade chips. I don't think Josh Jacobs is back. I said this last year. I'll say it again this year. The running back position is just really tough right now, man. Be really tough. I would love to see Davante Adams back. And I think if any coach would want Davante back, it would definitely be Antonio Pierce. But Antonio Pierce is also not stupid. Champ Kelly and him are going to have conversations, and it will be about how can they get more assets. And the easiest way to do that, especially if you want to trade up, Chicago's looking for weapons. They need weapons. If they were able to land a Davante Adams, I think they'd be extremely happy with that. If the Raiders could somehow get a first-round pick out of the Bears, number one overall pick, as well as some ones in the future, with Davante Adams in that trade to get Caleb Williams, you do it. I don't know if it'll happen, I'm just saying. Then, if you guys get an opportunity, go after a receiver in the second, third round, however you want to do it. Go and do it in free agency. The Raiders are going to have $60+ million in cap space. But for heaven's sakes, man, get your quarterback. Focus on the fronts. Build the fronts, man. Get a bigger, meaner, more physical offensive defensive line and see what happens. Great things. So, a lot to be proud of. Lots to be proud of with Antonio Pierce. I think he should be the head coach. If Jim Harbaugh really wants to be the head coach of the Raiders, then it should be him, based on track record. If Antonio Pierce gets the Raiders to the playoffs, to me it's almost a lock at that point. I don't think Mark Davis makes the same mistake twice. I think whoever comes in has to keep Patrick Graham at all costs. I don't care if he's the highest paid defensive coordinator in the league. I don't care. Make it happen, because you've seen a drastic turnaround with the Raiders defense that isn't talked about enough. Patrick Graham, you might be able to get him for 1 to 2 more years, and then somebody's going to poach him away from you as a head coaching candidate. No joke. A lot of good things, man. A lot of good things could come out of this. A lot of overhaul could happen. We could see just a rookie quarterback getting drafted in the first round, like late in the first round or mid first round. J.J. McCarthy or Michael Penix. Maybe they fall to the Raiders. Kind of like, Will Levis falling to the Tennessee Titans in round 2. Maybe that happens. Good. But I think the Raiders are a competent quarterback away and an offensive defensive line impact depth away. And you'll see a team that's going to be contender. Because I love the young DBs. I love what the Raiders are doing defensively. Offensively, you have weapons. Find a way to feed them. It's that simple. Find a way to feed them. If you have a top running back, Nick Saban said it best, and I watched his It's a Football Life documentary. One of the best things he received as far as advice from a head coach was, you have an you have an all-state running back, you have an all-state receiver. If the ball's not going to those two guys, I don't know what to tell you. So then he called a halfback pass to the post corner, scored a touchdown, won 19-18. Get the ball into the hands of your playmaker, man. It's that simple. It's that easy. There's nothing confusing about it. Just get the ball into the hands of your playmakers and you'll be fine. Really proud of the Raiders, man. I hope they finish strong. They have 2 more games, again, against the Colts in Indianapolis and then at Las Vegas against Denver to close out the season. If you beat the Colts, it is very likely that the Denver Raiders game is for the playoff spot. And beating a team 8 times in a row is no small feat, man. Like 7 times in a row is still impressive. But 8 times in a row, if that happens, bro, I don't know. Is it a rivalry anymore? I don't see it. Yeah. Golden Knights are having an excellent season, a stupendous season so far. They've had a little bit of a slip up as of recent, but I also think the Canucks are just playing excellent hockey right now. Golden Knights have fallen to second in the Pacific Division. They are second in the West as far as points are concerned. If overall points, the Canucks are just playing very good hockey. As of late, they're like 7-1-2. Golden Knights have slipped a little bit. They're 5-4-1. But they've lost 3 straight. But I totally see them moving that around. Like we saw a huge turnaround last year. Then they started going off playing that team hockey, especially after that All-Star break. We saw a huge run. The Golden Knights just have this tendency to slip on some games for a short period of time in the beginning towards the middle of the season. And then towards the end of the season, man, they go off. That's just been their thing. We saw it last year. We saw it in the years previous when they made the playoffs. They just make a late push in the back half of the year. They do a great job at the trade deadline. Sometimes they stand pat because they believe in the guys they have on the roster. Golden Knights will be fine. I wouldn't worry about them too much. I think they'll be fine. Ton of life left in them, by the way. There's still, let's see, their game tomorrow, 9 p.m. against the Ducks. The Ducks, which are a better team, by the way. They're not horrible by any means, but look at the next stretch, okay? All against struggling teams. The Kings aren't struggling. The Kings are a good hockey team, but it's still a possible win. You have the Golden Knights going to Anaheim tomorrow. On December 28th, Golden Knights play the Kings. On January 1st, Golden Knights play the Kraken. Again, a team I think that's struggling this year. They're not as good as they were last year. You could win those next 3 games and reclaim first place, no problem. All you need the Canucks to do is lose one game, and you'd be fine. Games after that, Panthers. I think that's a winnable game. Islanders, winnable game. Avalanche. Like any of these games are winnable. The ones I would say, like if the Ducks were to go on a run, like let's say they won the next 5, their next 2 games after that 5 straight, like let's say they won that 5 straight against, the Ducks, the Kings, the Kraken, the Panthers, the Islanders. They have to turn around and play the Avalanche at home and the Boston Bruins, who are a very good team. Flames, not so good this year. They were great last year, not so good this year. Predators, not so good. Rangers are a really good hockey team. Might be one of the best in the NHL right now. Rangers are unbelievable right now. Like 23-8-1 right now, 47 points. Like right now, them and the Canucks are tied for first place in the league, if you will. Golden Knights would be 3rd overall in the league as far as points are concerned. Again, I just think the Canucks and the Rangers are just playing great hockey. But the Golden Knights will catch up. They'll get things righted. If they win the 4 out of the next 5, I think you'll see them back in first place. If they somehow find a way to go 1-1 against the Avalanche and the Bruins, I definitely see them in first place. That Rangers game is going to be tough, man. They're just such a good team. They were so young. They're just such a good team. A lot of winnable games on the home stretch, though, guys, going into February. Maple Leafs might be tough, but a lot of good games, a lot of winnable games for the Las Vegas Golden Knights, and you'd expect nothing less from a returning, the defending Stanley Cup champs, Lord Stanley Cup champions. I would love to see another home stint in Las Vegas, though, man. That stuff was crazy last year. Ton of fun to watch those fans go nuts. You could tell Vegas is definitely a fast-growing sports market, man. People want to be there. They want to see what's there, what's there to offer. Major League Baseball has turned a corner. Yeah, you guys heard it here. We talked about it a couple times. We think, listen, it was the owner of the A's that was the problem. It's how much money was he going to bring to the table? In his mind, he thought that maybe Vegas should provide more money. Not the case. They're just not that kind of cash cow. Not like the NFL is. Not like the Raiders are. Okay? They're still going to boost their value as a team tremendously. Their ballparks look amazing. The ballpark looks like it's going to be amazing, man. If it looks anything like the Renders, dude, the ballpark is going to be fantastic. The league owners, all 30 of them, unanimously approved the move or the relocation at no cost to the A's to Las Vegas. That was done, that was done a little over a month ago. Unanimously approved the relocation of the Athletics. That was done about a month ago. A's bought land towards the end of last year, early this year, to prepare for a future ballpark. I mean, we're seeing a lot. If you guys get a chance, you guys can go to the new Las Vegas Stadium or the A's ballpark in Las Vegas on MLB.com. They have the renders up there. I think it's going to be amazing. It's going to be cool. Retractable roof. So, if it's springtime and it's cool at night in the desert, like it does get sometimes, you can open it up and let that moonlight and that cold desert air kind of sink into the arena or the dome itself, the ballpark. A lot of things to be positive about. This is what I can tell you about baseball. Baseball is not a cap-stricken sport. It is the richest teams that succeed. It's that simple, man. Very rarely do you see a team in the bottom half of spending in the league or bottom half in allowance in the league do some damage and win a World Series. With this move to Vegas, the valuation of this team should definitely triple. Because that's what happens to the Raiders, at minimum. The Raiders went from $970 million in Oakland to $6.4 billion in Las Vegas in 4 seasons. There's no reason to think that the Major League Baseball team, the A's, who are worth around $500-600 million, couldn't be in the $3.6 to $4 billion type franchise in Vegas in the next 4 years. Like, that would be huge for that team. Meaning they'd be more competitive. They'd have more money. There's no state income tax in Nevada. So they're probably going to attract more players. New ballpark, new facilities, kind of like the Raiders did. Like, that was incredible what the Raiders did with their facilities. If you don't believe me, listen to the Bill Belichick interview on the Raiders facilities. Talked about how incredible they were. He smiled. Bill Belichick doesn't smile, but he smiled about the Raiders organization and their facilities. If the Vegas A's can get anything near that, they're going to see a huge uptick in talented players that want to come play in Vegas. And that would be a huge difference maker for Vegas. Huge difference maker. We'd love that. You guys know what it is. That hour goes by fast when you're having a good time. Victory Tuesday, folks. Raiders! I love that Antonio Pierce says, say it with me. I love it. He could be the next head coach. I'm sure we'll be able to cover that more next Tuesday after this next game against the Colts. Again, I think if the Raiders make the playoffs, Antonio Pierce is the for sure head coach going into 2024. I think that Mark Davis will give him and Champ Kelly an opportunity to build a team. Some coaching changes need to be made. Some coaching changes need to stay the same. Like, Patrick Graham cannot go anywhere. They need to give this man a raise. The Raiders haven't had a top 15 defense in 20 years. They have that under him. They're a top 10 defense since week 9. And I still don't think they have the talent that they should have. It's going to be interesting. Food for thought. Food for thought. Gruden drafted Malcolm Kuntz, Max Crosby, Colton Miller, Josh Jacobs, Trayvon Moehrig, Nate Hobbs. That was the Gruden area, by the way, guys. And guess which players are making plays for the Raiders? Just saying, man. We gave Chucky a lot of crap, but those are really good players. And they came up in big time in big time moments. What is it, Deshaun Nixon? That dude ain't playing around, man. Amik Robertson, another Gruden guy. I'm telling you. A lot of these guys are producing right now, and they were Gruden guys. I think Gruden knew the whole time. It's part of the reason why I think Mark Davis will really entertain him coming back. But we'll see. This is the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. You guys can get at us on our Twitter forums, at SinCity_IESR, at Cale_Henderson, where we talk all things Vegas sports. And as always, folks, we'll see you next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Love, peace, and hair grease, folks.